You got that plugged in?
Oh yeah.
You got the microphone plugged in, but I don't. Does that work? I'm gonna tap the microphone. Someone on that's watching, give me a thumbs up if you hear it. I'm gonna tap the microphone. Should be loud. Okay, give me a thumbs up. 3 second delay. After these messages.
How do you write backwards like that? Oh, you're left-handed.
Oh, is that backwards?
No, that's right. That's left, right.
Oh, that's right. No, because sometimes I write backwards and don't even know it.
I don't hear anything on that. There's no sound.
Good.
Yeah.
Got all my shoes and my glasses.
Ooh. Sweet. How we doing for audio, Ryan?
There's nothing. Yeah.
No audio?
There's no audio.
Okay, now there should be audio. That's why we have to have this time. That's what sound checks are for. And to make sure that nobody's drunk for the gig. That's important too. Everybody's there, we're all there, nobody's drunk, everybody made it to the gig. And then finally the microphone works. And does it?
Yeah, there's left a little delay.
Nothing? Is your phone on mute?
Oh, there it is, apparently. Yeah. What's this? There's audio.
What? Somebody said that?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said there's audio. Excellent. Oh, it's so much better with audio. I did silent movies for a while, and I made a good living, but it's something. Don't want to do it. It's a tough life.
Silent movies?
Silent movies, yeah. Have you ever done one? You ever done one? No, just at home, like on your own phone or something.
Back when they had the very first digital cameras, there was no audio. Back in the 90s?
They had digital cameras without audio?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean to take a picture?
Yeah, but like they would take a video, but there would be no sound. So I have some very interesting silent movies. Yeah.
Really? I wonder if I believe that they did that really? They made digital cameras?
I think so. I think that if you had an SD card.
Wow. Okay.
Look at all these adhesives you're going to use.
I'm not using all of them. I might not use any of these guys. This is a product demonstration. Nah, this is a product. Is it called a product demonstration?
Well, we were normally on Fridays. Yeah, we try to expose some secrets.
Yeah. Oh,
So
really?
if we have any secrets about any of these products that we're going to talk about, mostly we're talking about keeping things quiet.
Oh, that's the
How about a little
plan.
bump
You
and
gotta get Ryan
slide?
right on this. If you're going to be there doing that, you might as well be over here doing this with us. Come on in. You want to be in on this, Ryan? You want to pull up a chair and we'll talk about materials. Oh boy, we got Ryan. Now we got some real knowledge going. Right? So, Ryan knows every material ever made. He invented it.
He has a lot of material.
He has some named after him.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say, that's the one right there. Old Ryanite.
Well, I guess we're going to start in a minute. Remember when Eric Satterley did a clinic on using only, I don't have that even here, the nylon rope, and made the whole saxophone quiet. He used no materials, just nylon.
We've got some of that.
We've got
That
some
was
of that.
cool. Yeah, we got that. But I don't know. We don't use that technique. But that was a really cool clinic. That was one of those mind blowers. Like, oh wow, okay, let's try this new thing. Never thought about that.
Let me
no
just-
mask. This is the closest we've been around.
That's right. It has been.
Without a mask.
Normally there's a plexiglass shield right here.
Let me pan up so they can see who.
Should we?
Faces.
Let's start. Okay, here
Oh
we
Yeah.
my goodness, how's my hair?
Hey everybody.
It's pretty good.
Let's do it.
Fabulous.
Welcome to I'm Cradles. This is Ryan. That's Rich behind the camera. And today we are going to talk about materials, and we're gonna make things quiet. We're gonna talk about making instruments quiet. Okay, let's get to it. I'll start, Ryan, and you tell me when I'm stupid. Stop. Wait. Wait. Let's go. All right. So, where's this camera looking, Rich?
Right here.
Okay. So we got you in my opinion,
Yes.
or in our shop philosophy. Basically, we do materials. We want to make things quiet, but there's other things that materials can do. Materials can make things quiet. They can make things slide. They can be consistent in thickness. So if a material is too squishy, it won't be the right material for a situation. It might work, but it might crush over time. So we basically have a really simple set of rules to choose the material that goes there. And sometimes, depending on where you are, you might just replace the material that's there. But we're talking about materials, so we're gonna, you know what I mean by replace it? Like if a piece of cork fell off, you might just put another piece of cork there and not get too philosophical about what you're doing, right? Just put it in and sand it down and rock and roll. I didn't have any, well, we'll grab it, but
What do you need?
some stuff to sand. But we'll get
Sandpaper?
to that. Yeah.
It's in paper form.
Yeah, paper form. You know. Well, there's all kinds of things to sand, you know. But so what our rule is that there's things that bump, there's things that slide, and there's things that bump and slide. So you got things that bump, and then you have things that slide together, and then you have some things that bump and slide. So let's look at some examples, and then we can talk about choosing the proper material for that. This is a saxophone, obviously, and the same would hold true for any instrument. Okay, let's look at an area that bumps. See under this key feet?
Where are we?
I didn't look at the material, so this will be interesting because we'll see how well that they follow the rules. You see underneath these key feet right here?
Mm-hmm.
And then here, you see under the key feet where it hits? All it does is bump. It's not sliding, it doesn't bump and slide, it just bumps, it just hits. You see right here? See there's a felt right here? On the low B and B flat? So all that felt does, it just bumps. It just bumps the key, right? That's all it does. Or if you look right here, on the bottom of this foot, this piece of material, it only bumps. It doesn't slide. Okay, let's look at one that slides. Where's one that slides? Right here? Is there one that only slides? Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, and it has a nice material. This one slides. These two mechanisms slide. They never lose contact. They always touch, and all they do is slide. Inside there. Can you see that in there?
Oh yeah.
If I'm messing up, Ryan, tell me.
No,
Okay.
you're right.
I'm
right
good.
on track.
I'm good. Okay.
Keeping notes. Yeah.
All right.
It's definitely a slide.
Okay, that's a slide. And there's always a slide on the octave mechanism. There's always something in there that's sliding, like this, and this are all sliding. Well, then what's a bump and slide? So a bump and slide is like right here. You see this bis key? And when I let the bis up, it bumps. You see how it bumps that key? Right? But now watch carefully as I close it. You see it slide? Let me show you again. As I move this key, can you see it slide against there? Can you hear how I say slide?
Yes, slide.
Yeah, did you think I didn't mean to do that? Okay, so that bumps. That one bumps when you just let up your left hand, and it also slides. Okay, so let's talk about material in those three situations.
Bump, slide, bump, and slide.
Bump, slide, bump, and slide. Yep. So I don't know what everybody else is choosing, but I want to choose the hardest material I can for an application, right? And then we have to step back depending on the bump, slide, kind of what happens, right?
You got to start hard and then soften it up.
If it and when you're choosing a material, you would really like the softest one, but it may not be stable, right?
Right.
So that's the problem. So the let's look at when an area is when two materials are bumping, we don't care about the friction. We don't care about the friction between those materials. So if there's a lot of friction between, say, these two materials, and the instrument's bumping, then we don't mind that there's friction there because all it's doing is this. But what we do want to do is keep it quiet. So if it's bumping, we're using the hardest material we can, but we're putting something on there that's soft enough to keep it quiet. And that's the only thing that thing has to do is be soft enough to keep it quiet, and also be as consistent as it can be. So what do we put in a bump area?
Bump area is usually tech cork. Having tech cork hit, like you said, a soft material, ultra suede, or even if it was ultra suede hitting ultra suede.
Ultra suede hitting ultra
would
suede
be
is
probably soft hitting soft.
the quietest one. When would we do that? We might do that on like a right hand stack on a berry, if we wanted to get that because they're moving so much, they have so much momentum. So if it's bumping like a key feet, we might want a couple soft materials. So then we're talking about ultra suede. And ultra suede comes in 2 different thicknesses, basically, and 3 different colors. The gray and the white are very, very similar. The white's maybe a little thicker, and so we might put ultra suede on 2 different parts. And like here, let's see how this is a key that bumps. So whoever set this horn up felt like that was quiet enough. This is ultra suede against tech cork, and it bumps, right? Yep. And they felt like that was quiet enough. Let's see how quiet that right hand stack is when I lift up the keys. Not bad. If you wanted to get rid of that you could put another piece of ultra suede on the other side, so it was ultra suede against ultra suede, would be like this. The problem is it really only lasts for what? How long would that last? Maybe 6 months?
Yeah.
And then it would get noisy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this person chose black ultra suede and then tech cork on the other side. Those 2, let's look at one that slides, like this one. I think when it slides, you always want something slippery against something slippery. Some lubrous material against a lubrous material. In this case, there is Teflon shrink tubing on the key, and the Teflon sheet is on this side. Hey, could you demonstrate that Teflon shrink tubing? I got one here. Do you have a heat source? Thanks, Ryan. So while he's doing that, you can see here the two Teflons are on this key, and they're rubbing against each other. Now, you could put ultra suede on one side and it would work, but the thing is that the ultra suede will compress. This is the ultra suede. You could put Teflon, the tubing around here. So you could put the Teflon tubing on this part, and you could put ultra suede on the key, but the thing that would happen is eventually the ultra suede would compress. You could put leather on the key instead of ultra suede, and that's kind of thin and soft, and it would compress maybe a little less. But I think if you really can get a perfect feel where they're both touching all the time, I think you'd want to go, if you can, what's this stuff called? Teflon. Teflon against Teflon. That's an area that slides. Anywhere you got an area that slides. Ryan's going to show you that shrink tubing, because this Teflon shrink tubing is pretty special stuff. And we'll just get through how to choose these materials, and then I'll kind of show you. Then we'll take a look at applying them. So let's look at this bump and slide. This is that bis key that we were talking about. So because it slides, you want a lubrous material on there, something that will take up that friction, and you won't have a bad feel or a grippiness in there, and you can get an even action, you know. But the other thing is, since it bumps, you don't want it to be noisy when it hits. So just like they did here, it's nice. I didn't check this horn before, or we didn't check this horn before, but this kind of follows the rules. Sometimes we don't follow our own rules, but this is the ultra suede, gray ultra suede is on the top. This is the gray ultra suede, and it's on this key part. And on this arm is Teflon sheet. And there's 3 different thicknesses of Teflon sheet, and I'll show you those. On that arm could also be your shrink tubing.
Teflon.
To Teflon, that's right. Thanks, Rich. You could put the Teflon shrink tubing on like this and then shrink it down. Not on the horn, but you get the idea. Now, like this shrink tubing is way more fun to use. It shrinks with a lower temperature and it shrinks up nice. You could put it on here really easy. You could do this on the horn, you know, but it's not as lubrous. So it wouldn't give quite as good a feel, you know. So you kind of got to make a decision about that. We'll talk about. Before you do, Ryan, I guess. So that's bump, that's slide, that's bump and slide. No, let's get into these materials and how to apply them. And so, how about we start with we'll start with these lubricants ones because they're hard.
Yeah,
right?
they are. The Teflon tubing, we find you have to really get the heat up.
Yeah.
When you're doing those, you almost have to use an open flame to get it.
I do. I always use the acetylene torch. What do you use?
Yep. It's the same thing, or if I have a lighter.
Oh, yeah.
Just to kind of heat it up. It has to get real hot. It goes from like kind of an opaque to clear when you heat it up, and then it actually shrinks, and then it goes back to being kind of an opaque when it cools down.
Certainly had some people call and say it doesn't work.
Right.
And then say, no, you really need to heat it up.
Really
and that's a reasonable mistake to make.
It is,
You heat it and it doesn't.
Yeah, even with the air torch, if you use just about everything at 500, it's still not quite enough.
I agree. So you're going to demonstrate it with the air torch?
Yeah, I'm going to demonstrate this is the hot glue.
Okay.
Glue fill. But yeah, then you would just use to heat these.
Well, then let's talk about that for a minute,
Okay.
Ryan. So either you or I, you're going to put this on. Are you going to put this on top?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to show them the little trick.
Okay. Put it in
for side key forks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cool.
So here we are. This is just a piece of that hot glue filled shrink tubing, which is great, especially when you put it on a cylindrical part like this. The glue prevents it from slipping off, which is great.
So there's two different thicknesses since this is a product video, right? So we're trying to, I mean to say it's okay if I show these things and I'm not too salesy, guys. This is a hot glue filled shrink tubing, and inside there is hot glue. There's two different diameters. The other one Ryan stole and cut up.
I did.
But that's okay. Just show them that little piece.
Here it is.
Oh, here we go. So inside here is hot glue. This is a really neat. Can I just talk about this for a second, Ryan? So Ryan's going to put the Teflon on here, but everybody that's watching probably knows this situation, and this lives inside a fork. So there's a lot to think about with materials. We're not really doing this. Anyway, I'm going to talk about this because it's interesting. So for me, with the Teflon alone, if you can only fit Teflon, the Teflon you put it on, and when it shrinks, it's still Teflon on the inside. So even if you put glue in there or something else, it's going to fall off. I mean, it's Teflon in there. So it's really hard to get the Teflon to stick on there. You have to find a mechanical system. And so Ryan's going to show you one, but I also just want to point out, you can also take a file. This is a file for today. And you could file right around here, and you could make the end of this key look not maybe that big of a notch. And not that long. That should be where the key would end. But you can make the end of the key look like that. Then when you put your Teflon on there, boop, it'll go down into your notch and it'll never fall off. And we do that all the time. Now there's another way to hold it on there, especially if, go ahead, there's a gap, right?
So when I put this on, like he was saying, I leave a little gap right there. I'm not going to put this.
So you're doing it with the black one, yeah.
Yeah.
What's it, like a millimeter?
Yeah, I would think about a millimeter. Just a small enough. And use a little bit of heat.
See, normal shrink tubing is so fun to work with. That Teflon stuff is tricky.
So I'm not aiming this directly at Rich's face.
I can kind of feel it. Feels good.
But there you are.
Yeah.
And you got a little gap on there. So you left like a mechanical gap. Yep. You're gonna do the.
Let me try see if I can shrink it down a little bit.
So you had that turned down for the.
I had this one down to about 300 to melt that, or to shrink that hot glue filled shrink tubing. Let's see if we can just kind of slip this on. And what I'll do is I'll put it on almost all the way, and then I'll kind of cut about, let's see, about that much, and then just push it the rest of the way on. I find if it sticks over here and it shrinks, it tends to want to pull that that shrink tubing off. So yeah, so making
That's a
sure.
great point, Ryan. That's a real good tip right there.
So making sure it's all the way up and there's no overhang. Like
So
that.
you have a little bit of the hot glue filled on the bottom.
That's
Yep.
beautiful.
This reminds me of like a Bob Ross video now.
It's very sad. Just
Is it my comments?
just a happy little.
It is.
shrink
It is nice. It's
It
nice
is.
to see because the materials you put them on, and then you just have to live with whether they stay or not.
Right.
Right. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
you send the horn out, and then 5 years later.
Yeah, you're hoping these aren't facing down so it slides off. Hopefully that.
Yeah.
they're-
And then
they're
somebody's
not-
like, "I'm on a gig and a material fell out." It's like, oh man. All right. Let's see this thing shrink.
So here we are. I did put this up to 500. See if we can kind of shrink this down a little bit. And I'll aim right for that overhanging spot right there. You can kind
Kinda
of
lock it in.
Yeah, kind of lock it in and just tightens up.
Now that shrunk down, but I don't think you shrunk it all.
No, right,
Okay.
right.
You still gonna do more.
Still going to do a little
Okay.
bit more, and usually what I'll do is I'll put when I'm getting the forks, heating up the forks. There we go. And then usually what I'll do is, when it's on, I'll wiggle it back and forth, obviously. I should point out that I will do this usually when it's completely assembled on the horn, not when it's off like this, but for demonstrations purposes. And you can see what's happened now is that heat has kind of moved that hot glue filled that's inside of that inner tubing. And you can see how it's nice and tight. We have the lubricity of the Teflon.
Right. And you could also put Teflon on the
forks.
forks if you wanted, and then you would really have smooth against smooth. Or you could polish them, right? And you don't even need a material. Okay, cool. So while we're talking about Teflon, let's just say that there's 3 diameters of Teflon tubing. Am I missing one?
Nope, that's it. It might be this one.
There we go. There's 4. Because that's the one that I'm using most. Is the second largest.
Yeah, that one's good for like right here for
For forks, for octave mechanisms.
The larger one I've used on the G sharp, the little adjustment barrel.
Oh, right.
You know.
Yep.
Sometimes you do have to end up kind of expanding this a little bit. So sometimes I'll take something like this.
Yep.
Open
it up.
Yeah, in order for it to slip on.
And I've put in round nose pliers. And,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have something on my bench. Yeah, just a little taper thing.
Yeah,
I
just
just kind of
put it in there. I've used that thing on your bench.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's perfect.
What do we got? So we got Teflon, and then we have and then Teflon sheet. Let's look at Teflon sheet. We got 3 different thicknesses of Teflon sheet. This is what you're going to use on one side for keys that bump and slide, and you're going to use it maybe on both sides for keys that slide. And Teflon has two sides. This one's really easy to see on the thickest one. This side is smooth Teflon, and on the other side you notice that it's brown. It's just chemically etched. So they put a chemical on here. It changes the Teflon to be something other than Teflon, and that allows it to receive adhesive. And you can see it on this medium thickness one. You can see that it's more blue on this side. I don't remember the exact. I think it's 003, I don't remember. This is brown on this. This is the glue side. And this is the thinnest one, and it's a little harder to see because it's so thin that the brown kind of shows through. But you can see that this is kind of the Teflon side, and that's not. And so what we do is we put super glue, usually, on the key, and then put the Teflon onto it.
I see you guys have a couple of different viscosities. Is there one that you guys prefer?
We were just talking about this, and for Teflon, I like the super thin and the flexible thin. I think the flexible thin is pretty much most people's go-to.
Yeah, I think that's my go. Yeah, the flexible thin is my go-to when dealing with the Teflon sheet.
Teflon sheet's a pain to glue on. It's really not. It's not awesome.
Yeah.
When it sticks, it's good. This is all sticking good. Whoever did this did a nice job. But
Yeah,
the thing that it fixes is worth it.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, it's a little tough to work with. Yeah, the first thing I do when I'm dealing with super glue is I get the solvent and I put it right next to me because I know I'm going to glue my fingers together. But yeah, it does.
Is that the uncure, Ryan?
Yes, the uncure.
Oh, I didn't bring the uncure, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did Teflon. Let's talk about some of our softer materials. Well, how about we talk about the other side of the bump and slide? What that might hit, you know?
The bump of the bump and slide.
The bump of the bump and slide. So there's tech cork. Let's take a look at tech cork. This is tech cork here, and tech cork here. Look at that. There we
That's
go.
a lot of
There we
different
go. That's a lot of
thicknesses.
tech cork. What is there? 13 sizes. Okay. So why have 13 sizes? Tech cork's hard to sand. It takes a new.
It does. It takes a lot of elbow grease, and it can be done, but like it's not.
You're not going to put on the biggest one and remove everything. That's not.
No,
a
it's
tiny
not
little
like
piece.
it's not like sanding cork. Cork's easy to sand. Yeah, that's the thicknesses come in handy.
So that's what I didn't bring. What I like to sand with, I'm usually using like. Hey Rich, will you grab me one of those Ryan's plastic things next to his bench there, the sanding stick?
Yep.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll take the sanding stick, like this, and I'll just cut this, and then I'll use this little strip, and and you could put tape on the back. Ryan in a video recently.
Yeah, bits just cut bits of
What
sandpaper. Yeah, I would then put packing tape on the back so it doesn't scratch the instrument.
What
Yeah.
Neil's asking, what grit do you guys use in general? He's asking to use 320 grit.
Yeah, I think the
For the tech
finest.
cork?
Yeah, for the finest is maybe 400. Get anything finer than that, you're not really doing much besides.
But wait,
polish.
not for tech cork.
No, did you say natural cork or tech cork?
I think for tech cork.
For tech cork,
Wouldn't it be like?
I would do like 220, maybe
something
even
this-
more aggressive.
this.
It does need. It does need quite a bit. I think this is 220.
Yeah. Let me make sure about that. It's funny, we have these at our bench and we just use them, right?
Yeah, we just
grab
use
the one
them.
that you have.
I think that's 220 that you're holding, Ryan. The blue stuff.
Yeah, the blue stuff, the blue black. Yeah, 220, at least 220.
Yeah,
Probably
220,
even coarser would be even
120
better.
or 100. I mean,
Yeah.
120?
80.
Yeah. 80 might be a little
Yeah.
aggressive, but you don't want to go forever sanding this stuff, but you also don't want the tech cork is like natural. It's got natural cork in here, and then it's got a nitrile binder that's holding it together. So it's like rubbery, right? Mm-hmm. And if you sand it with too coarse of a thing, you might get some parts and kind of like burrs sticking off of it.
It's a little rough.
Yeah. That should be quickly. You should quickly find out which.
It's more like if you're going to sand tech cork, it's fine tuning.
Yeah, right.
Like you said, you're not going to start with something that thick and go to something like this.
Yeah.
You need it this, you might start with that.
Well, while we're talking about that, and then when you would sand tech cork, what we're doing with tech cork, like if we're looking at a place like this on a saxophone where the key feet are hitting the body, and that's a place that bumps right here. Well, if it's bumping, and you can see, you might be able to see this person did it. Can you sort of show how that's hitting the body? See how that foot hits the body, the cork? So somebody has sanded that cork down to match the profile of the body. So the key has a foot, and if you want to get the foot to contact, the body over its whole distance, the body is here and the key is here, and you put some cork on there, and then you can sand it so that you're really hitting with more contact, more surface area, and that's going to keep it quiet. Because remember, what you want is the horn to be quiet, but you also want a hard material. So if you were going to put on tech cork and ultra suede, and then you put on tech cork and you said that's quiet enough, stop right there, right? Don't put the ultra suede on, because that will just compress over time. So the tech cork is your base material, right? And maybe your only material.
Yeah.
Like palm keys.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says my palm keys are too noisy
loud,
when I press them. I mean, that's just not something that you hear, because you're pushing it. It's just not an issue that palm keys are generally too noisy when they hit.
I mean,
Alternate F sharp is another one too.
Now, now, if this is if a classical person's playing this horn at a high level and they're playing it in a you know, often on stage, they may be trilling something and feel that is too noisy, and then you just put something under there. But whoever set this horn up in our shop decided to put just check torque on there because it's quiet enough and it's certainly stable enough, right? And that's really nice with the palm keys. So here on this bump, if we look at that tech cork, if you've ever worked with cork, you know that this much cork would compress quite a bit. And I'm really squeezing here, and if you can show this pad up here, Rich, that's it. That's all I can get out of that tech cork. So if, you know, when you're setting up key heights, we set this key height up exactly where we want it, and no one wants it crushing based on whether the guy is excited to play or whether it's a ballad. So here, this piece of tech cork hits, the key opens the exact same amount every single time, and we have a really nice stability. Even with the ultra suede, we would have that stability because it would crush down, you know. With cork, not so much. You want to see what a piece of cork that thickness might crush. Can I get one under there? So I'll put this underneath here, and I'll crush at it. You look at the pad, Rich, and you'll see.
Oh yeah.
You know.
You can open it right up.
That's just a piece stuck underneath there, and then you can see, you know. And then just for a fun comparison, if I put a piece of tech cork under there, even though there's already tech cork, I put a piece of tech cork under there, and you look at the key, it doesn't open. You know, the cork would probably be quieter because that's life. It's softer, it's quieter, right? Okay, so what are we? We're using anything about installing this, Ryan, that we want to talk about? We're using contact cement.
Contact cement.
We glue both sides. Do you pre-glue the pieces?
I don't.
Yeah.
So I know some people do. I don't necessarily pre-glue the pieces. If I'm doing like you know, like key feet, I'll cut out kind of oversized shapes, and I'll usually use tweezers to hold on to little pieces, and then you know, do that. Yeah, but definitely coating both sides.
And
you know,
then
both sides. Well, both parts.
Yeah, both parts.
Not both
And
sides, but yeah, both parts. And then the other thing I'll do to kind of quicken the glue drying is use the air torch on a very low setting.
Oh yeah.
Just to kind of fan it, just to, you know.
Be impatient.
Yeah. It's like I'm in a hurry. Gotta get these horns out.
Like
Well,
at,
it is
like at
important.
100?
Yep, 100. Yep, the lowest it can go. Yep.
It is important to let the contact cement dry, and yeah. If you rush it too much, it's danger. I always wonder if a film can go on top, right? So you would want to be on a low setting.
Right.
Yeah. What tech cork? Well, on top of tech cork, we often put ultra suede. So that ultra suede would be put on with contact cement.
Yeah, I actually have a pieces where I've actually pre-glued ultra suede
let's see that,
to
Ryan.
the sheets.
Yeah, that's right. That's a really handy time saver. The downside of that is you can't shape the tech cork to the body, but that's okay because this is like if we're setting up a new instrument or you know, like that. So
He's digging around in there.
Yeah, my stacks are pre-glued, and I have them already marked. This is 0.3 in gray, 0.5 gray,
Whoa.
0.6 in gray, 7, so all the way up to, I think, just 1.0 in gray. And it's usually only cases that if I do want to put, you know, extra soft on like the palm keys or the alternate F sharp. Other than that, it's usually using tech cork first and then later determining if we need to use.
Put your ultra.
I don't automatically use tech cork and ultra suede, but it's easier just to have them ready to go.
And I found them setting up the new horn, setting up the Wilmingtons. It's nice because you know it's okay.
How are you laminating those, Ryan?
I'm using just a lot of the contact cement, brush it on thin layer, letting it dry, and then.
You're laminating the adhesive goes on the cork or on the
On both, both. So if I were to be applying, let's say this
Imaginary adhesive.
Imaginary
There you
adhesive.
go.
Okay.
Careful.
So it's a little sticky. It's a little rough.
Okay.
So I would apply this whole thing,
Oh, you're making. I don't get that on my horn, dude.
and then on here as well
With the brush like that.
with the brush, and then a lot of times I'll usually take my
Use your
finger,
finger.
or I'll use the end of a razor blade to kind of
really?
smooth it out.
I like to put it on this fabric one super duper thin.
Okay.
Like, and then let it dry and make like a a little protective barrier, and then put more on top.
Okay.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said, making sure that it's completely dry and then
Sticking it together.
Stick it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever used the spray?
I
Yeah, we
haven't.
have. Yeah, we should try that. I never thought
Yeah,
about
that would
that.
be-
Yeah, that's a good one because it's just contact cement. Yeah. Well, we'll let you know how that works out.
That's right.
Okay. Oh, I didn't mention these for super glue. We were talked a little bit about the different super glues. Can we do that quick? Let's get into all the super glues. Let's get into the super glues. I'm sorry. Never mind. Cut that. Time out. Can we edit that?
Well,
out?
yeah, we'll edit.
All right.
post.
We'll edit
Cool.
it out in post. Other materials. This is the one that. This is called our Black Magic. Comes in 2 thicknesses. It's real nice. It's easy to it's easy to sand. We don't usually laminate it. This is I don't know. Say something about this Black Magic, Ryan.
It's good for if you have like a really bouncy key. We've used it for Big B Berries, the G key that has it coming all the way up, and those are real big, heavy keys, so they tend to want to bounce. So we want to use something that absorbs as much of that force as we can. So it does tend to eliminate a little bit of that bounce.
I feel like it's in between cork and tech cork. As far as like the durometer goes. You feel that way? And actually, maybe that we laminated is not. Maybe we should. Maybe that's something that we should be doing more. I think we just haven't got into putting it on and laminating it.
Right.
But it sands well and it works. It works that way. I think if you wanted it more quiet, you want it for a long time, last a long time. You don't want to laminate it with ultra suede. At least so far in what we're doing.
Right.
This is a good choice. This will keep it. This will quiet it down. Now, when it's really, really a problem, when you get to the super duper problem and it's just too noisy, the Sorbethane is a really excellent product, and it's kind of like the tech cork, right? Or the Teflon in that the tubing, in that it's sometimes a little difficult to work with,
Yeah.
but when you use it and need it, it's really handy. So look at this stuff. This is like a really flexible. Do we have a here? I could show you this way. I think I can grab a dent ball real quick.
Do you guys use the Black Magic foam, the adhesive? Is it contact cement, or do you use?
I use contact cement. Yeah, the only time I really use super glue is for the sheet Teflon.
And Sorbethane.
Oh yes.
And Sorbethane. Yep. So let's see what this is. Let's see how this works. Can I put it here, Rich, on the wooden counter?
Yeah, sure. I'll back up a little bit here.
I'm improvising this demonstration. I never really tried this, but I know it's going to be remarkable. Okay, here's some that are roughly the same thickness. And this stuff, I'm going to take the cover off of this so you really get an idea. So like here's the table. How about the
Natural cork?
natural cork? And the tech cork? A little harder than the natural cork, right? And then the Sorbethane? Oh, I really thought the Sorbethane would actually stop it even more than that. Yeah. The Sorbethane on a key, you can certainly hear the difference.
I do see quite a lot
Less of a bounce coming up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. The Sorbethane is really neat stuff when you have a low D on a tenor, right? That's bouncing. And you can put this on a low D key on a tenor, and it will stop the bounce, right? And also that problem you were talking about on the Barry, Ryan. This works really good for that. The Sorbethane, one problem is it's like sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real downside, So, and it's really hard to cut. Here's a brand new razor blade. Let's cut a little bit of this. Let's pretend like I got this key right here, and let's pretend I want to put a little bit on here, right? But because I can't sand the Sorbethane, I'll just pretend I wanted to get somewhere in between these two thicknesses. Okay, so I'm just going to try to take a little bit off, but because I can't sand it, I kind of gotta skive it. fillet it.
Yeah, fillet.
Oh, it's really not that
Fillet your
fun.
sort of thing.
It's not
Not
that
your
fun to
fingers,
cut.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really not a fun. I have safety glasses on right now. 2 pairs actually.
I'm wearing
And
welding gloves.
Ryan's got an apron on.
That's right.
And it's really a nice one. I mean, this is not maybe my best fillet job because, you know, I'm live. But you see what the problem would be. So like there I am. I tried to get in between the 2 sizes, not quite. It'd almost be easier to file the brass to get it and then just use this material. It's really tricky to cut. So we found a few different thicknesses. We've got 3 different thicknesses, and then let's talk about the stickiness. So if we did put some on there, what would we do about the stickiness? Now when the key hits, not this key, but now when a key hits, the key foot hits, you got this sticky stuff on there.
Like walking on a movie theater floor.
This is really, look at. It's not an adhesive on there, it's just sticky stuff. It's like those toys you used to stick at the wall, and then when they get not sticky, you wash them and they get sticky again. It's that. And so what we do is put ultra suede on it. You put some ultra suede on this guy, and you are rocking and rolling. And then you're back at your quiet. I'm surprised that bounces so much. You're back at your quiet, and you're not sticky.
Can you do the bounce test again so they can see it from this angle?
Kind of, but it doesn't show what I wanted it to show. The
Oh,
sorbet
really?
thing is, well, the sorbet thing takes it up so well, but it's not necessarily doing it on the bounce test. I guess it is.
Yeah. Let's see what we.
A little less as predictable. A lot louder. And
Yeah, you can feel it in the table too.
now the cork, see how much the cork takes up? That's nice, and you can get the customer out the door. But then a little while later, it's going to be noisy.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding about that customer. But yeah. The other thing you could put onto any of these, you can always substitute natural leather for ultra suede. I don't see a lot of reasons to. Maybe in a key cradle, you might put this, and it's nice because the natural leather will hold like some paraffin wax, and you can wax it up. Materials.
You did mention key cradles, like right here for this G. It's just kind of one that kind of holds it.
That's a place that slides.
Yes, place that slides. So in here, whoever set this up used Teflon, the sheet Teflon. Of the sheet Teflon, I typically really only use the middle size.
Yeah, right. The thin one. The thin one is
the thinnest one. Depending on the clearance here, I might use the thinnest one. But any other application, you know, the bis arm, it's usually the middle size Teflon. But yeah, this would be a good spot for the thinnest Teflon, or like you said, natural leather. I wouldn't use cork, and probably not tech cork.
No, that would be too grippy.
Yeah.
So maybe as a final, oh hey, I want to talk about the glues. I finally got to talk about my super glues. I wanted to show you guys these things. So we have a few different super glues. We have the thicker gap filling one, extra thick gap filling, and that's like a super glue gel. And then let me get from thin. And here's the super thin, really, really low viscosity.
Like sticky water.
Flexible thin that doesn't dry as hard, and that's nice for our stuff because if you are using it for, like, say, tech cork, which you could, and I did for a while. I used to use super glue on tech cork. You would use the flexible one, so hopefully as it hits, it wouldn't jar free. And then this is the medium gap filling, so it's thicker, and it's a thicker, a little bit thicker, but it's not as thick as the extra thick.
Right.
For contact cement, there's a few different ways. We have the small bottles. We have a few. I keep forgetting the super glue thing I want to tell you. We have this. I'm just going to tell you now that I remember. And we have the barge. I like the barge a lot.
Barge is good
because it has the top. It works really well, and it has the top. You can put the top on and take it with you. Or this is what I want to show you. So, the underappreciated thing here. This is the. So these have a Teflon ingredient, so super glue won't stick to them. Take the top off, and you put these tips on, and they're really great. You put the tip on, and then you can use the super glue. I haven't cut this one open yet; it's brand new. But you could use the super glue through that tip, and then when when it dries and hardens, just the very end will harden. And then you can just cut that tip off. And then you can keep using it. You just keep on going. These are cheap. You just keep on going until...
If you want to put that
Oh, here's
on
one I can
something.
put the tip on. So you can see... Here, let me put this on your finger, Ryan. What do we have? Everybody's throwing stuff at me.
Okay, glue this.
See how we can kind of get in there and hopefully be a little accurate.
There you go.
You
There
see
it
it
is.
coming down? See it coming down the pike, and then, oop, there it is.
Super
See that
neat.
little bit?
Yep.
Yeah, super glue. See that? You can just really get a lot of control. And then when it dries, like I say, you just cut a little bit off. You don't have to put the top on anymore. You just leave that on. And then there's two of those. One is just a little bit thinner, and that depends on the thickness of super glue that you're using. I think they come in 5-packs. Okay, cool. And there's also the
Pipette?
pipette. And this you could put into the super glue and just take a little bit up and then put it on your turkey when it's in the oven. And then when it dries, you can cut a little bit off if you make another turkey, and you'll have that. Okay.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you all for coming. Is there any questions on there, Rich?
You answered them all.
We answered it. All right.
All of them.
Cool. Virtual high five.